For the first time in the union's history, workers from the Big Three were united in the fight for their rights, and some kind of agreement was finally found after 6 weeks. Such a long period and such huge proportions cost the Big Three billions of dollars, but they're not the only side affected by the strike. The final customers will suffer too. Ford's CEO has just exposed 6 shocking negative effects of the UAW strike on car buyers, so make sure to stay with us to find out more. Number 6. Limited vehicle availability. Without any doubt, this is one of the first things that comes to mind. Every strike brings disruption in the production process, and that affects the number of vehicles reaching dealerships. And with a strike of these proportions and longevity, a strike that affected 3 companies that produce 50% of all cars in North America every year, we can only imagine how reduced inventory will be in the near future. 6 weeks is a long period, but we shouldn't neglect the period that comes right after, the period of consolidation. The limited number of vehicles reaching dealerships leads to several issues affecting potential buyers. For example, consumers might find it challenging to locate their preferred models or trim levels. Logically, the most popular models will be the most challenging to acquire. The waiting periods are longer, so potential buyers might need to explore alternative options. Finally, limited availability makes specific models more exclusive, which can also prompt dealers to adjust their pricing strategies, potentially leading to higher prices or fewer incentives for buyers. But problems with limited vehicle availability go way beyond price jumps and longer waiting lists. This can also influence the availability and pricing of pre-owned vehicles. Consumers looking for a specific model in the used market will most likely face higher prices or scarcity, altering their purchasing decisions or forcing them to compromise on their preferences. Number 5. Price increases. If you consider that Ford, GM, and Stellantis produce 50% of new vehicles in North America, accounting for 1.5% of the US GDP, it doesn't surprise that the 3 companies have lost billions of dollars on this 6-week strike. And now it's time to make up for this massive loss, and as you may presume, customers will suffer the most. In other words, dealer markups won't be the only problem. MSRPs will go up as well. But that's something we already got used to, considering that price increases have already been a trend in the last several years, so the price increase has been justified by huge investments in the EV segment. Now, car makers are going to blame workers too. With that said, we can make a conclusion that the potential price increase will happen for different reasons, so it could be quite significant. Some sources even speculate about a 10% increase on average. With limited availability, we could say that the key reason is the fundamental economic principle of supply and demand. When production halts or slows down due to strikes, the supply of vehicles diminishes. However, the demand for cars often remains relatively stable or may even increase due to factors like pent-up demand or seasonal trends. This imbalance between supply and demand exerts upward pressure on prices. Dealerships facing reduced inventory might capitalize on the scarcity by raising prices to maximize profits. But things will go beyond basic economic principles, because even the least popular models, which are offered at discount prices, will get more expensive. Manufacturers might opt to reduce or eliminate incentives and rebates typically available to consumers. This reduction in cost-saving opportunities further compounds the overall increase in the price of vehicles, making it more expensive for consumers to purchase cars during this period. Finally, let's not forget that these prices may not be limited to new vehicles. With prices going up and limited availability, there's no doubt that many buyers will be exploring alternatives on the used car market. This will certainly drive up prices of pre-owned vehicles, especially the most popular models. Number 4. Delayed deliveries. We already talked about the limited availability at dealerships, but let's not forget that many buyers simply don't go to local dealers to purchase their new vehicle. Many of them like to configure their new cars in a specific way, so they're ordering them rather than buying directly from a dealer. With the most popular models, customers don't even have any other choice but to apply for the waiting list. And now, with all those production issues caused by the 6-week strike, it's easy to conclude that they will have to wait even more. Of course, these delayed deliveries can significantly disrupt the plans of buyers. Simply said, the timeline gets completely disrupted. It's not just about wait times, which get extended. These delays are frustrating for many other reasons, considering that buyers make all kinds of plans around the anticipated delivery date. Plans about selling or trading their current cars, arranging financing, insurance, and many more. Delayed deliveries can have a domino effect on subsequent plans or commitments. For instance, if consumers were counting on the new vehicle for work, family transportation, or other critical needs, the delay could cause inconvenience and potentially affect daily routines. There's also the psychological impact of uncertain delivery dates, which reflects in anxiety and dissatisfaction. The lack of a definitive timeline can make planning and organizing logistics challenging. Consumers might have to rearrange schedules or make alternative arrangements while waiting for their vehicles, impacting their overall satisfaction with the buying experience. Of course, all this could lead some consumers to reconsider their purchase or explore other options, potentially causing frustration and disappointment with a brand or dealership. Number 3. Resale values. Such a monumental, unprecedented strike undoubtedly impacts customers in so many different ways. We already mentioned the used car market. We particularly have in mind cars that are just a few years old, models that are still in production. With these models being less accessible as new, their resale values might appreciate due to increased demand and scarcity. And if we consider that the strike has led to a quite prolonged interruption in production, it's easy to solve the puzzle. But that's not the whole story. At some point, the market might become flooded with those vehicles once production resumes. This situation can potentially depress resale values as the market tries to balance the increased inventory. What's important to keep in mind is that the impact of the strike on resale values isn't uniform on all models and brands. Some models retain their value better than others, and factors are numerous, starting from the brand reputation, consumer demand, specific market segment, etc. Finally, let's not forget the basic principles of supply and demand. With all these supply issues in mind, we're pretty sure that many car owners will decide to keep their current vehicles for a little bit more. This means fewer options on the used car market, which again leads to price increases. Number 2. Disruption in parts and services. The automotive industry isn't only about the new cars, it's about replacement parts as well. So when production halts or slows down due to strikes, it not only impacts the availability of new vehicles, but also affects the supply chain for spare parts. Many components used in vehicle manufacturing come from specific suppliers, and a strike can disrupt the steady flow of these parts, leading to shortages. From the car owner's perspective, this means challenges in getting vehicles serviced or repaired promptly due to a lack of necessary components. The shortage of parts inevitably leads to prolonged repair times as dealerships and repair shops struggle to acquire the required components, and that's particularly problematic for consumers who rely on their vehicles for daily use. Normally, when parts become scarce, prices for those components go up, which leads to higher repair and maintenance costs for consumers. Also, let's not forget the impact on warranties and recalls. The availability of parts needed for a recall or warranty repair has a significant impact on the whole process, and the problem isn't just in prolongation, but also in the fact that customers are left without a resolution for safety or performance-related issues. Consequently, this can erode consumers' trust in the carmakers' ability to provide timely support and service, which leads us to the number one negative effect of this UAW strike. Number 1. Shift in consumer confidence. With all the negative effects we've been talking about in this video, it's obvious that a good number of customers may lose their trust in certain brands or manufacturers. When strikes occur frequently or last for extended periods, consumers might perceive them as signs of instability, which potentially leads to a shift in confidence, causing consumers to reconsider their trust in the affected automaker's ability to deliver consistent products and services. The uncertainty surrounding production disruptions and the potential for future strikes can make consumers wary of investing in vehicles from those manufacturers, affecting their overall confidence in the brand. Normally, many consumers are now seeking more reliable options. They're turning to brands perceived to have better stability and fewer production-related issues. We can only presume that this shift is about to cause a loss of market share for American carmakers, which have already been struggling in the last several decades. Consequently, this could also impact long-term growth prospects, especially if we consider all the challenges that come with the ongoing electrification. Thanks for watching and see you next time.